Your breathing echoed softly through the cold, cramped room. Your eyes drifted toward the white robe laid across the table in front of you. It was the Kyanshi exorcist costume that once made people admire you, the costume that brought you fame and success. But now, it was covered in dust. Its colors faded away with time. The glory of the past meant nothing in your life anymore. You were no longer a successful actor. You were just a man abandoned by his family. A man who had already given up on life. Your trembling hands tied a rope to the ceiling. Outside, heavy rain pounded endlessly against the old apartment building, while water trickled down the cracked walls like tears. The apartment complex felt less like a place for the living, and more like a shelter for the dead. You stepped onto the chair. In your fading thoughts, the blurry images of your wife and son appeared before you. They had already left you behind. You had nothing left. Slowly, you closed your eyes and slipped your neck into the noose. But you were not granted the peaceful death you expected. The moment the chair collapsed beneath your feet, the atmosphere inside the room suddenly turned freezing cold. Though the rope tightened around your neck, what you saw was not the darkness of death. Blood began dripping from the strange writings pasted across the walls. Icy breaths forced their way into your mouth. Something was trying to invade your body. It was no ordinary ghost. It was the spirits of twin sisters who had died in this room, with hatred buried deep inside them. Just as your consciousness was about to fade away, the door burst open violently. It was Uncle Ong, the owner of the downstairs food stall. He immediately cut you down from the rope. You crashed onto the floor, gasping desperately for air. But your body was no longer under your control. Your neck twisted unnaturally, and your eyes rolled back until only the whites remained. The twin spirits were trying to possess you. Uncle Ong bit his own finger and used his blood to draw strange symbols across your forehead. Instantly, black smoke burst out from your body with horrifying screams.
"This place isn't an ordinary apartment like you think, kid," Uncle Ong said in a rough voice. As you stared at him, you realized he had once been a famous ghost hunter, but now he was nothing more than an old man selling fried rice. Before leaving, he warned you not to rush toward death yet. There was still something you needed to do in this place. As the days passed inside the apartment, you slowly began to notice the strange rules of this place. The residents here did not merely live alongside each other, they lived together with the dead. Whenever you walked through the dim corridors, you would sometimes see a woman without eyes wandering endlessly while searching for her child. Then there was the strange Uncle Tong and his wife, Mei Ying. They were hiding the darkest secret of the apartment. One day, you caught a disturbing smell coming from Uncle Tong's room. It was the mixture of rotting flesh and burning incense. Driven by curiosity, you peeked inside, and what you saw was horrifying. Uncle Tong had actually died long ago after accidentally slipping and falling. But his wife, Mei Ying, could not accept his death. With the help of a dark sorcerer, she was trying to resurrect him as a Jiangshi.
From that moment onward, your life no longer moved toward a quiet death, but toward a horrifying battle drenched in blood. The sorcerer controlled Uncle Tong's corpse using black magic and cursed mirrors, but the spirits of the twin sisters were waiting for a chance to enter the body. Their souls overflowed with hatred, and when you finally learned why they had died, your heart trembled in horror. Inside this very apartment, they had been assaulted by a cruel man. One sister was murdered, while the other took her own life afterward. Now, those spirits had entered Uncle Tong's corpse. He was no longer an ordinary Jiangshi. He had become a monstrous demon with impossible strength and terrifying speed. The entire apartment complex stood on the edge of becoming a sea of blood. You had no choice anymore. You put on your old white robe once again. This time, it was not for acting. It was for killing. You went to Uncle Ong and asked for his help. At first, he refused, but eventually he decided to fight beside you. "I thought our era had already ended," he muttered, "but maybe we're the only ones who can stop these things." The final battle began in the freezing dark hallway. You held no wooden sword, only the talismans Uncle Ong had given you and the courage left inside your heart. The Jiangshi monster suddenly lunged out from the darkness. Your body slammed violently into the wall, pain exploding through your bones. But you could not stop. Rising through the blood, you desperately tried to attach the talisman onto its forehead. On that night filled with blood and ancient magic, you were no longer just an actor. You were fighting like a real hero. While Uncle Ong used the last of his strength to restrain the monster, you finally managed to place the talisman on its forehead. But it was not enough. The monster only became more violent. In the end, you made your final decision. You sacrificed yourself. Wrapping your arms around the demon, you gave Uncle Ong the signal.
Uncle Ong unleashed his final spell, flooding the entire apartment with water and blood. As you struggled together with the monster, both of you crashed down toward the lower floors of the building.
Your vision slowly blurred. Your breathing became weaker and weaker. Everything gradually fell silent. And then, something strange happened. The ghosts, the monsters, Uncle Ong's magic, everything vanished like mist in the wind. All you could see was the rope. In truth, you had never escaped the noose at all. Your body was still hanging there. Everything that happened, the Kyanshi battles, the heroism, the supernatural horrors, had only been a dying fantasy created by your brain during your final moments. It was merely a movie inside the mind of a broken former actor. Uncle Ong was never a ghost hunter. He was only an ordinary food stall owner. Nobody came to save you.
Darkness consumed your vision. The trembling in your legs finally stopped. Inside apartment 2442, another human life faded away forever. But the darkness inside that apartment would never truly end. When another tenant moves in, when another hopeless soul arrives, the cycle will begin again. Now, you have become one of the spirits trapped within those walls. Nobody remembers you anymore. Your story has ended here. Or perhaps it has only just begun.
If you enjoyed these stories, please like, subscribe, and press the notification bell.